Hello, welcome back to 1874. It's time for Europa League preview in association with NordVPN. Head to 1874.io/NordVPN. It's completely risk-free because Nord offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. You'll get a huge discount plus 4 months free if you go via that link. Help yourself get some extra football in your life on a weekend with NordVPN. All the link is in the description as well. I am Dan Bardell, joined by Jacob Tanswell this morning to preview the Europa League. Villa, of course, playing on Thursday night against Bologna, who they faced last year at Villa Park in the Champions League. I've just said to Jacob before we came on, let's just make it a general Europa League preview. I don't know very much about Bologna, and I'm sure you don't as well. And then Jacob went, I'm a journalist, mate. I know about Bologna.
Well, I've taken a look at them and seen if they've changed from last year. Obviously, Villa played them then, and it was pretty decent performance, if I can recall.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, quite a clinical and professional performance. And really, they've not changed too much. They're the same managers, same setup in S4-2-3-1. And what I think will be interesting for Villa and Villa fans, given the current crisis of confidence, is that they're going to press very high. They're going to be man-to-man. They're going to want you to play out from the back, and they want you to play into midfield so they can press. So let's see if Villa can handle that and are up to the task.
Yeah, there was no actual team news from the press conference yesterday, but Youri Tielemans hasn't trained. Does that mean anyone else is back? I've lost track of it. Does that mean Onana is back, Jacob? Has he been in training, do you know?
I wasn't aware. I didn't see him in training yesterday, but that's not to say he's not available. But do you know what? There's been so much else going on this week. I've not even bothered. I've not even had time to check the injury news. I think the best thing for the fans, if they really want to know if some are available, is go on to Getty Images, see who was training yesterday. That's simply all I could say. But there was a time, probably 10 days ago, where Villa internally were hoping that Tielemans would be fit for the Bologna game. Whether he is, I'm not sure, but I think there's a bit more of a circumspection in terms of we need to make sure he is right first and foremost and not rush him back.
Yeah, get him right for Sunday as well, I would say, is more important. Villa should be able to get through this without Youri Tielemans, obviously beating them last year in the Champions League, as I said earlier. But this does feel like a pretty good one for Villa, not a home game away from the rigmarole of the Premier League. Like, try and get something tonight, try and get some feel good back in and try and get back on track and just win a game and maybe score more than one goal in a game.
Yeah, and also,
although I'll take one, I won't be greedy.
Yeah, and you think also it's Europa League, so although it's not quite Champions League, Villa Park is still going to be excited, isn't it? It's still going to be quite buoyant. Again, it's not the Premier League at the moment, and it just feels like, okay, it's a new competition. Let's get the feel-good factor back, and hopefully that can then transform onto the pitch as well in terms of, can Ollie Watkins get that first goal? You know, he's suffering with confidence. Morgan Rogers too. Get some of these players back into form, whilst knowing that this will be a very tough task. So if you're not up to the task, and if you're taking too long on the ball, if the pass quality is as bad as it was against Sunderland and other games, Bologna is going to pick your pockets and they're going to transition. So I think this is a good test for Villa, but at the same time, it's one they can definitely win. And I expect them to win this. I expect them to beat Fulham. And without looking too far ahead, I think the mood will change. But it's a question of, can Villa sustain that period of form? But we can all talk about that later in the coming weeks. But right now, this is a very important one.
Do you think he'll go strong tonight? Do you think he'll name his strongest 11? He went pretty strong last week in the Carabao Cup, didn't he? When we all wondered how he'd do in the cups. Is this one, for example, where maybe he keeps Martinez in goal and just does pick I expect there will be changes. Yeah. Like Torres will play. I'd expect Maatsen to play as well. But I think he's kind of forced to go strong at the moment because he'll know that we just need a win and to get off to a good start in the Europa League.
Yeah, I suspect he'll go strong and he'll play what he sees as the strongest line. Of course, there's some positions that are quite changeable, aren't they? Like you said, left back, the centre back position, maybe one or two of the players behind the front three. But I think the spine and his most integral players are going to play. Yeah, I don't see him showing any sort of want to rotate, considering how bad Villa have been recently and how important this game is.
Yeah, it's massive. Like, for example, got the Watkins Europa shirt behind me. Could do with a goal. This is a decent chance to get a goal, isn't it? Like, so I think he kind of, I said this last week, was forced to go with his strongest or 9 of his strongest 11 or whatever now it feels like to me.
Yeah, definitely. And he needs these players into rhythm. He went back yesterday in his press conference saying that he feels that the team are heading in the right direction in terms of performances. Of course, he said that before the Sunderland game, and then straight after the Sunderland game, he didn't say that, shall we say. So he's obviously trying to be positive, and if he truly believes that, then he'll feel that this team or certain players need longer to get into shape, into rhythm. He's always talked about the last couple of weeks being difficult. Oh, poor from you, Bardell.
My laptop, it keeps doing it. Like, my phone is on silent, I can guarantee you, but for some reason the laptop pings, and it doesn't ping like in my ears, it pings out, and I don't know why whenever a message comes through.
He needs to be. He wants his team to be professional, but at the same time, these players have. He's moaned for the last couple of weeks because of the transfer window. They're playing catch up almost. So he needs these players to play quite regularly now to get themselves into the rhythm, into form, and maybe you see, I don't know, Harvey Elliott and Jadon Sancho featuring in some capacity tonight as well.
Yeah, because of course the press conference was yesterday, which you attended, but you referenced it briefly earlier that it's almost like not a press conference about the game. In the end, it's a press conference about all the turbulence that's been around in the last few days, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's quite funny in a way because some of the broadcast guys who weren't at the Sunderland game and don't really cover Villa were asking like, what are Bologna going to be like? And I'm just got my head in my hands thinking, no, don't ask Esri Conte what Bologna are going to be like. Ask him about Monchi, ask him about Sunderland, ask him about the lazy comment, ask him about his defending, what's going wrong, why aren't they scoring? So yeah, when the situation around the next game is bigger, so you have this in transfer windows as well. No one really asks the question about the next game. Everyone asks about transfers and everything else like that. It just happens to be an opportunity to ask. But there were, a few things he said about Bologna. Him expects him to be very aggressive and high pressing as well. So I'm sure he would have planned for that. And I'm sure, as when you're listening to this, he'll be involved in one of his pre-match analysis meetings with the players. So,
well, right now, that's what they'll be doing.
They'll have, they might have a couple yesterday, but they'll have a couple today as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because what was his mood like? Obviously, he's off the back of saying something not controversial is not the right word, but he said something that was pretty out there after the Sunderland game. Then, of course, Monchi's gone as well and been replaced by Roberto Alaba. So because he's the manager and he's the one the press get to speak to, he's almost the face of everything that's happened. And also, it was him that said some of the stuff that they're talking about. So, what was his mood like? Was he quite defiant? Was he maybe a bit regrets his comments a little bit?
I think he wrote back a little bit. He was very upbeat, actually. He was very smiley. Someone asked him about those reports in Spain about him considering his own future, and he just laughed. He was fine. I do think he made a real point, and he wanted to come into the press conference with the same point of saying, I watched the Sunderland game back straight away. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. In another day, we would have scored. If we took our chances, we would have won. We've played worse before. I kind of see his point, but at the same time, not every team's going to go down to 10 men in the 34th minute and still create a lot of chances. But I do think he kind of wrote back. And it was interesting, like what Esri Conte said. He was asked whether Emery had said the players were lazy to them, and he said no, he's not a big talker. He's not said that. He's been focusing on the analysis side of things. So that was interesting as well.
Yeah, and you say he walked in with a big smile on his face. This is him, isn't it? The Europa League. This is what he's here for. Is he genuinely like? Does he change when it's a European game compared to speaking to him before a Premier League game?
Yeah. Look at his Instagram this morning. He's posted on his Instagram story. It's Europa League. We put in this piece today, which is always some guy said to me who works very closely with Emery. He's like, he absolutely buzzes off it because he just loves Europe. 18 consecutive full seasons now. It's a massive reason why he comes to a club and continues at a club is to be in Europe. He just loves just everything that comes with it, managing different styles, continents. This is obviously the financial side of things is obviously a big incentive for him in terms of his pay packet every year, but also managing in Europa League and in Europe is huge as well. And if he can win another trophy, then wow, his legacy is even more emblazoned into the competition.
I believe we're the favourites for the Europa League. Maybe not after last night. Maybe some teams have snuck above Villa because we haven't played yet. But on Tuesday we were certainly the favourites for the Europa League.
They mean nothing.
Do you buy into
that? That means nothing. No, because let's talk in 5 months' time when, let's say, Villa are exhausted or another team in Europa League are exhausted. They're not going to be the same as the betting favourites at the start of the season, are they? When everyone's fresh and everyone's available, things change in football. So I don't take too much stock. They're the favourites of the Conference League as well, right? And let's see where Villa are in the knockout stages if they get there. I'm sure they will, but betting favourites means nothing. It's just nonsense, really.
Forest got off to a good start last night, didn't they? Because you felt like they maybe needed something, and they got it last night. Playing in the Europa League, like new striker, getting off the mark and playing well and winning. Like it felt like that was a big moment for them, and something that maybe Villa can try and replicate tonight.
Yeah, and it felt like a bit of a diversion, didn't it, from their league form, which has been a little bit mixed, and just Postecoglou's obviously struggled a little bit after the Nuno stuff, and that felt like a bit exciting, didn't it? Forest fans, Europe, the atmosphere. It seemed like it was a really positive and change of mood, really. And Villa fans were like that a couple of years ago, last year, the Champions League, and I'm sure they will be tonight as well, in terms of just this feeling like a completely separate entity to league.
We lost our first Conference League game, didn't we? Have I imagined that? Was that Warsaw the first game?
Yeah, if you don't count the qualifying, but
I'm not counting that.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, that, was it? But it was what an atmosphere. I think a few Villa players were a bit unsteady on their feet after that. I think it was quite a shock to them, that atmosphere. I remember Callum Chambers was playing right back, wasn't it, there?
Yeah, he had a stinky day.
So well, they all did, to be fair.
Yeah, because we've got Thursday night tonight, Bologna at home, Fulham at home Sunday, then Feyenoord away, and then Burnley at home on Sunday as well. Like, it does feel like this is a pivotal run of fixtures where we've got to start winning some games and scoring some goals.
I think they win all 4.
It's too big, Jacob. Maybe 3 of the 4. Maybe not in Rotterdam. Maybe a draw in Rotterdam.
Well, this is the standards I've come to expect from watching this team for 2 years. I think they're better than all those teams, so they should win all of them. I think they've got a squad at the moment, which is okay, a few injuries, but they can rotate a little bit. But if we're talking about this fresh cycle and what Emery says about he's identified the problems of this season so far, and the players that came in the summer window are now growing accustomed, are getting fitter, are getting more rhythm. Considering how bad the start of the season is, Villa have to make up some ground in some way. I know there's only 2 league games, but they need to just completely shift the mood. And I'd say they should win all 4. So I think the next 2 weeks before the international break, it's a huge test, isn't it? I think is probably the most critical part of and time in Emery's time here in the Midlands.
If he's saying he's identifying the problems, then I'm expecting to see a form of change in some way, see something a little bit different, even if it's just those subtle differences. Me and you did the Athletic podcast in the Athletic studio a few days ago, talking about Villa. It was a Villa special, and was kind of saying that we used to be able to see little differences game to game. But if he's saying they're identifying the issues, then there's fundamentally, I've got to see something different tonight. Something needs to change.
Yeah, you hope so. And I imagine a lot of the issues were in possession. I think he's been quite happy out of possession.
Yeah, we've been okay out of possession.
Yeah, but what he wants to see is he wants to see the build-up being better. He doesn't want to see as many loose passes. I think a big issue was why Villa losing so many stray passes through central areas when Villa are so clinical. If you've seen the stats piece, the Athletics and Mark Carey's done is similar to last year. Villa are attacking through central areas more than any other club in the league, and they were second behind Chelsea last season. So when you are so middle centric and you barely use the right wing, actually, Luca Dean's still involved in a lot of attacks. You need to be precise in your passing, because otherwise, if you get caught in the central third or in the middle of the pitch, it can be turned over and you can be attacked on. So that's a key issue. But I expect them to be a bit more precise on the ball. I think a few positions will change. If you see Sancho, for example, I don't think he'll necessarily act as that left number 10. I think he'll sometimes go really wide on the left. Maatsen will invert, those type of things. I think Watkins' positioning it next to Rodgers is something that they'll continue to tweak, because they know the relationship's been not good at the start of the season. How they can get them to closer and how you can start to feed balls in better positions to Watkins is something that I'm sure would have been worked on and discussed with Emery's coaches. He's still, like we've put in this piece today, working so many long hours. Like he's no staff are leaving until he does, and that's often at the end of the day when he's on the bike and is doing his analysis sessions. So, yeah, he works hard. The question is less is more, or will this hard work eventually pay off?
I don't think we can criticise him of not working hard, can we? Like, when you're in a bad rut and you sometimes think, are they doing everything that they could be doing? The manager works long hours.
Do you know what? When Southampton were during that World Cup break, Nathan Jones obviously came in, and I remember asking him straight after the World Cup break, how many of the 11 games of Southampton's season have you watched? Because obviously you weren't here for the first 11. And I remember him saying, I've only watched 7. I've not had time for the other 4. And this was during the World Cup period. And I thought, oh no, alarm bells have started ringing.
Yeah, Emery watches about 11 games a day, doesn't he? I think
he watches the same. I think he watches the same game 11 times. Yeah.
Wow, this is certainly a workhorse. So, Jacob, in conclusion, Villa gonna win tonight, in your opinion?
3-1.
You heard it here first. Jacob Tanswell. I don't think it'll be a 3-1. I think it might be a 1-0 or something along those lines. To be honest,
a score early, and Villa part will be transformed, buoyant, optimistic, and we can just watch Villa under the lights at their best. And after this crazy 72 hours where a lot has changed and a lot needed to change in the view of Emery and his entourage.
Okay, but brilliant. There'll be some European games are obviously always different. I know. I've just done my Premier League podcast with Jonathan Wilson, which everyone should watch when it comes out today.
It's very good. It's very good.
Thank you, Jacob. 1992 Premier League preview show with Jonathan Wilson. Do watch it. I'll put the link in the description. But he's in Copenhagen right now. Is he in Copenhagen? He's somewhere in Scandinavia. Anyway, I've just done a podcast with him this morning, and he's now flying back to Gatwick to go and cover the Villa game tonight for The Guardian. So you'll see Jonathan Wilson in the press box tonight, Jacob.
He's a legend of really journalism, isn't he? There's a few that I look up to, and he's certainly one of them.
Will you tap him on the shoulder and say, we've got a mutual friend, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'll say, do you know Dan Bardell as well?
And he'll go, yeah, I don't like the guy.
Yeah, he'll say, I'm just doing it for the money.
In all honesty, he must like me because that podcast isn't making any money at the moment. So he must like me to be doing that podcast with me. So yeah, I'm sure you'll both exchange lovely stories about me later on in the press box. Maybe some other people in the press box that don't talk about me. Just talk to Jonathan. Right then, let's go. Jacob, thank you very much for joining me today. Get a haircut before the Villa part tonight. Or are you going to be wearing your cap?
I'll probably wear a hoodie, yeah.
It might be quite cold. It's going to be quite cold tonight, actually.
I've not had a day off for 2 weeks, Dan. So tomorrow's my first day off. Friday's my first day off, so I'll get the haircut then.
You and your days off, honestly. All we ever hear about is Tanswell's days off.
No
days off in this game, Jacob. You know.
I know. That's why I've aged. That's why I don't look my 24 years, right? So.
No, you're a young boy. You've got. You mentioned the other day when we did a show that you got some stuff coming up. Did you reference Dean Smith in particular? Is that where is that?
That was supposed to come out this week, but obviously the timing of it's not great.
Yes.
When you're thinking, what's the point? The reason we're like, why are we? Brilliant to hear from Dean, but why are we doing this when Jacob? We want you to find out what's gone wrong with Monchi. Who's Alabi? What's the reaction been? So, this week's been a really big week for us. Breaking Monchi news, breaking the inside story. Then also now we've done what's happened this week, including the very late arrival to Sunderland, which kind of set the tone for the week.
Yeah, I mean, we were annoyingly as well. We were going to do before we knew he was going. We were going to do a Monchi show. Well, I guess we could still. I
texted you, didn't I, saying I think you need to do a Monchi show soon.
That was you hinting, was it?
Oh, come on, Dan.
I didn't take the hint. You'd mentioned it a few weeks ago about doing it. That was what I did. I didn't.
I also mentioned when we did the podcast around yours. I also mentioned to you, didn't I, about Monchi potentially leaving. So you had the warnings.
Did you mention that? I'm not sure. No. That isn't what. I won't reveal what happened because it's not fair on you. That isn't what happened.
Okay.
You got a strange text message, is what I would say would happen. But I don't remember you reacting off the back of that and saying he's going to be going.
Okay.
I mean, I did reveal the story pretty much then. After saying I wasn't going to do it, I pretty much told the story. I'm sure everyone can read between the lines of what I just said then. But yeah, we'll do some more content, won't we? We'll get some in-person content, proper in person. I'm going to invest in some microphones so we can do some proper in person content, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll do some tactic stuff as well.
Okay, brilliant.
So, all good.
Okay, so not the Dean Smith article this week then.
Not this week. hopefully next week, but let's see what happens next week.
Now, I was trying to get Dean on the channel, and I thought I was having a bit of success, and then you've trumped me by saying that you didn't know about that because I didn't tell you, but then you've trumped me by just doing a big read on the Athletic. Maybe we can still get him. Maybe we'll still get him.
He's a lovely, really lovely man. He's one of them that, you know, sometimes you interview people and they want to hurry up with the interview, and that's fair enough. But he just, you know, he wanted a good chat before we started, which was wonderful. And he's a huge Villa fan still. So, what a nice man. I look forward to writing it.
Yeah, we'll be sure to try and get him on the show, and be sure to read Jacob's piece with Dean as well. Right then, if you're going to Villa Park later, Jacob and I will see you later. If you see us, don't hesitate to say hello. And I've spoke for you there a little bit, Jacob, but I'm sure that's okay with you.
Absolutely fine. Yep, a lot of people I've noticed have started coming up to us in the press box, which is brilliant. I love it. It's amazing, isn't it, to chat to people and get their thoughts, because if you don't get their thoughts, and how do I know basically what to write about, what do fans care about? So yeah, please, if you see me, say hello. Okay
then, so yeah, enjoy your European night at Villa Park. We'll see you there. Thank you to NordVPN for continuing to sponsor the show. 1874.io/NordVPN to find out what they're all about and help yourself get some extra football into your life. There'll have to be a Bologna review in the morning, and then there'll have to be a Fulham preview as well. So I don't know how that schedule's going to look, but of course, keep your eye on the channel. If you subscribe with your post notifications on, you'll know when all the content is coming. So give us a like and a comment on this video as well with how you're feeling ahead of tonight's Europa League fixture. If you're listening via Apple or Spotify, then give us 5 stars, leave us a comment, leave us a review. All those things really, really help us as a channel. And yeah, we're going to go. So thank you very much to Jacob. Take care of yourselves. And as ever, it's an up the Villa from me and an up the Villa from Jacob Tanswell.
Up the Villa.